Hi everybody and welcome to this first keynote in this second day of the third International Conference on Food Design. The first ever food design event to be 100% virtual and therefore 100% free. We are coming to you live for this presentation. All presentations and in this conference are live, but if you really can't make it to hear the entire presentation, know that every presentation will be recorded and the recorded will be uploaded. So welcome everybody. I am Dr. Francesca Zampollo. I am the founder of the online School of Food Design, which is hosting this conference. I am thrilled to introduce to you our first keynote speaker for this conference. Her name is Deger Ozkaramanli. Yeah, more or less?
More or less, yes.
And her presentation will be about dilemma-driven food design. Deger is a lecturer in industrial design at University of Liverpool. She is about to complete her PhD, very final stages of her PhD in dilemma-driven design. And today she is going to talk to us about dilemma-driven food design. I am very excited. She's going to talk to us about dilemma-driven food design and what design strategies food designers can use to respond to people's dilemma. I'm very excited. Before I give the word to Deger, I just want to mention a couple of things. If you are watching us from YouTube, come and join us at onlineschooloffooddesign.org, where you will be able to access the live chat room and network with other food design people, and most importantly, ask your questions to Deger and to every other speaker who will be after her. If you are already watching this from the conference webpage, then the chat room is in that green tab on your right. Click in there, and we are in the first chat room called Chat Live Talk, which is a chat room dedicated to live presentations. Remember to click on that icon that looks like 3 lines on the top right to log in and give yourself a name. Otherwise, you'll just be guest 1, 2, 3 and a bunch of numbers. Also remember that this keynote presentation doesn't have to be a secret. We don't want it to be a secret, so help us share it with your friends and colleagues who you think might be interested. Our hashtag is Food Design Live. Okay, so it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our first keynote speaker. Deger, this virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you can go whenever you want.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesca. It's very nice to be here with everybody online today, and thank you for inviting me for giving this talk. I'm very excited. It's a very convenient platform, and it's also a very interesting topic that I'm really passionate about. I'm here at home today since it's a Saturday, and yes, I still have some Christmas decorations hanging. When I get a chance, I'll remove those, so don't mind them for now. I'm going to now put my presentation on so that we can talk about dilemma-driven food design. Let's see.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, that's great. Like Francesca introduced, my name is Deger Ozkaramanli. It's a bit of a difficult name. I am a PhD candidate at Delft University of Technology for another month. Hopefully, next month I will defend my PhD, and that chapter of my life will be over. Since last year, I'm also a lecturer at the University of Liverpool. where I teach and do research in industrial design. I would like you to imagine yourself sitting in a restaurant. You have just finished a very nice dinner with your friends or family, and the waiter comes by and asks, would you like to see the dessert menu? What would you do? Now, if you are among the people who have a minute of hesitation, you're probably not alone, because with this question comes a dilemma. You might want to prolong an enjoyable dinner experience, but you might also be, for example, on a weight loss diet or just watching what you eat. So that conflicts with your concern for health. Now, dilemmas are very common in everyday life. In fact, research shows that half the time we are awake, we experience a desire, and half of those desires conflict with other goals that we might have. So dilemmas are very common in our everyday life. Now, of course, eating a piece of cake every once in a while, especially on a special night out, is not a problem. It's a very enjoyable experience. It only becomes a problem when you have other goals in mind, and eating the cake evokes guilt or remorse. What makes the situation worse is that the food products on the market do not always help. Making products, the tempting products like M&Ms, small, bite-sized, and colorful, does not really help people to control their urge to overeat indulgent snacks. Now, health versus indulgence is one of the biggest dilemmas in the food domain, but actually there are many other dilemmas related to our experiences involving food. The domain is very rich in contradictions, and that's why I really like working in the food domain, because food is both a basic necessity, but it's also a luxury product. It's very personal. Most of our personal rituals and routines involve food, but it's also a very social thing. We share food with others, and food and eating becomes a background, a canvas for many nice memories that we share with other people. So it's also a social thing. The food choices we make have an impact on our own well-being as an individual, but also it has an impact on society. These choices, especially ethical food choices, influence other people. Several years ago, when I was doing my graduation project at Delft University of Technology as a master's student, I was working on the topic of sustainable eating. And by sustainable, I mean I was trying to come up with design concepts that would motivate people to eat less red meat and more other alternatives, be it vegetables or meat substitutes. Now, I did some research for this project, and I identified some dilemmas that people experience related to meat eating. One of those dilemmas was mastery versus management. Many people that I talked to who participated in my research, they said that I want to improve my cooking skills. I want to become an expert cook that can cook a variety of things. But when it comes to my everyday life, I'm so busy that I feel like I should cook and eat in a fast, easy, and manageable way. I don't have much time to think about what to cook. And now that has implications for what kinds of food you buy and consume, because many people find meat and meat-related products very easy to prepare. It saves them time, it's very convenient, they don't have to look up new recipes or learn new spices, for example, to use with the food. So that was the very first dilemma that they experienced when they actually wanted to reduce the amount of red meat that they eat, but they couldn't due to practical reasons such as convenience or time limitations. Another dilemma that I identified in that project was about belonging versus freedom. Now, I'm sure there are many vegetarians listening to us today. I'm not a vegetarian myself, but I'm tempted to become one. And the people whom I interviewed for this research, the vegetarian people, they said that sometimes they have a second thought about joining, for example, barbecue parties with other friends. Because when they join such get-togethers, they said there are always heated discussions about, why I don't eat meat, why I choose to eat certain types of meat and not others. And they didn't feel very comfortable engaging with these discussions. At the same time, they felt a bit left out because, barbecues by nature, they involve a lot of meat. So they wanted to be part of the group, but at the same time, they were very proud that they made the choice to eat in a more socially responsible way. Another dilemma that I identified in this project was related to exploration versus perfection. Now imagine that you're holding a dinner get-together at your house or a birthday party. You want to prepare the perfect dish, the perfect cookies for your guests. At the same time, to make the process of cooking a bit more exciting for yourself, you want to try out some new recipes. Now, these two goals do not always go hand in hand with each other. If you want to explore a new recipe, there is a high chance that the recipe may fail, and you will end up with the not so perfect dish. So people who were engaging with preparing meals for their friends for dinner, they would always go for traditional dishes which involved meat because they knew how to make those kinds of dishes perfect for their guests. That brings me to the main question that I dealt with in my PhD project, and I still deal with now in my research. And that's, how can human-centered designers help tackling personal dilemmas? At the very beginning of my project, I looked into a lot of products that seem to address personal dilemmas in different ways. Now, these products were not limited to products only in the food domain. I looked at a lot of different food categories, and that was important for the rigor of my research. But many of these products were related to eating experiences, and that's because of my own personal interest and passion in food design. When we analyzed these products, we came up with three main strategies that designers can use to address dilemmas. Those were resolving, moderating, and triggering dilemmas. And these strategies work as well for food designers when they are designing new food products to respond to personal dilemmas that people have. I will explain each of these strategies with existing products and also with design ideas that have been created within the scope of my research. The first design strategy we have is resolving a dilemma. And that's actually the most obvious and the most intuitive way to deal with a dilemma for a designer, especially for a user-centered designer. If you use this strategy, the intention is to enable fulfilling both personal goals at the same time. When there is a contradiction, the first reaction is to design something that resolves this contradiction, that helps people to fulfill both of the goals that they have. There are many examples in the food domain that we can give to respond to this dilemma. If we go back to the health versus indulgence dilemma, we know that in our everyday life, the way we balance these kinds of conflicting choices is that we combine something healthy with something slightly indulgent. For example, we may have low-fat ice cream, or we may prepare yogurt ice cream with different textures and flavors and colors and make it look indulgent for ourselves. But that actually is a way of resolving this dilemma. Another example I will give from a student project. Several years ago, we had a design brief from a multinational food company who was developing breakfast products. They said, we have a target group. This target group is young professionals, and we would like to enhance the morning ritual, the breakfast ritual of these young professionals. What our students did is that they observed and interviewed these people during their morning ritual, and they tried to identify the main dilemmas that they experience. One of these dilemmas were related to being in a couple. So if you have a partner, having breakfast together is a nice moment to share. It nurtures the relationship. But some people find that the breakfast experience is very personal, and they would like to enjoy this personal time, for example, reflect, organize their agenda, make their to-do list, to have breakfast on their own. Our student dealt with this dilemma in a way to resolve it. He created a new type of cereal. It's basically a new type of cereal packaging. It has a bag of cereal in it, like other cereals, but it also has 7 pocket-sized cereal spoons inside. So the person in a couple can wake up early to have breakfast and enjoy the personal time over breakfast, but he or she can leave a little spoon on the table for his or her boyfriend or girlfriend. And this is a way of showing care and intimacy. This is a way of saying, I had breakfast on my own, but I also thought about you. The second design direction I want to talk about is moderating dilemmas. Now, it is not always possible for people to have it both ways. It's not always possible to resolve a dilemma in an optimal way. Sometimes it is also a possibility for designers to suggest priorities. If we go back to the health versus indulgence dilemma, it's an option to prioritize having a healthy snack over having an indulgent snack. The product that you see on the screen is called Kitchen Safe. It's if you visit the website, you can see the latest version of this product. It's basically a jar that you can lock for a certain amount of time. And no matter what you do in that time, it's impossible to unlock it. It's also very difficult to break this product. So you can put the tempting food like M&Ms or muffins or candy inside, and you can lock it for, say, a couple of hours so that you don't have access to them. Another example that does that moderates a dilemma in a more subtle way than Kitchen Safe does is this Get Your Own Daily Dose of Color by Tam Tatfo. Now, the starting point for this design was, and a lot of people in the audience might know this better than I do, is that if you want to have a balanced diet, you can choose to have foods from different colors. If you have a colorful plate, you are more likely to have all the nutrition and the vitamins that you need on that plate. So the artist took this idea and turned it into a placemat for the table. So if you put your plate on top of this placemat and you look at the colors on the placemat and you look at the colors on your plate, you'll immediately notice whether you have a balanced dish in front of you or not. And that's a subtle way of encouraging people to have a balanced diet versus wanting to eat whatever they please. A student of mine dealing with this, with a similar dilemma, health versus indulgence or health versus convenience in this case, he said that actually people make their food choices already when they're shopping for food in the supermarket. So he wanted to design something for the supermarket's context. And he said, well, it's always a big struggle when you enter the supermarket. You think about, okay, what am I going to eat today? And that question comes up every day. What am I going to prepare? And it's very easy at the end of a work day and you're very tired to pick something convenient. Now, convenient food options tend to be very high in calories and very greasy. So they're not per se the healthiest options to have. He said that the supermarket next to the shopping trolleys, they can have these dice with different recipes on each side combined with the ingredients that you would shop for each recipe. And when you enter the supermarket, when you pick up a trolley or a basket, you can roll these dice and it basically randomizes, it makes it random and playful for you to pick what to eat that evening. The dice has very simple recipes on each side. It also suggests what to buy. It has a very structured shopping list. So you can leave the supermarket with fresh ingredients for a healthy meal that you can prepare from scratch. And that could be another way to tackle this personal dilemma and to prioritize the healthy option over an unhealthy option. The last design strategy that I want to talk about is triggering a dilemma. And that's designing with the intention to evoke a dilemma in the person to slow down decision making. This goes in the direction of more critical or provocative food design ideas, and it's something that I am currently working on. I think this design example really summarizes what I mean very explicitly. Now, if we go back to the health versus indulgence dilemma, several years ago, this plate Thrive Portionware by Sally and G won the Social Design Award on Core 77. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually a product that you can buy in the States. The starting point for this design was that if you have a small plate, you tend to eat less. And this triggered a small plate movement a couple of years in the States, which was initiated by the Cornell Food Lab. Now, Sally and G, as a designer, as a creative designer, started with this idea and said, what if you put food on your plate that does not fill the entire plate, but it fills only 80% of it. It leaves 20% empty. And she twisted the idea of a prototypical plate slightly in a way that this new design asks a question. Can you do this? It does not resolve this dilemma. It does not prioritize health over indulgence or indulgence over health. It just asks a very simple questions to trigger the dilemma, to emphasize the dilemma itself. Now, until now, I talked about dilemmas that actually originate in the food domain. Another way to look at the relationship between dilemma-driven design and food design is that to look at dilemmas that are experienced in other domains, let's say in the work domain or in relationships, and then try to see how food design can respond to these dilemmas. An example I can give is in the domain of procrastination. Procrastination means delaying important tasks until the last moment. So if you have a report to finish for work, you really wait until the last moment to finish that report. But the idea of delaying it really haunts you in the background. Now, the way people, most of us, deal with these kinds of dilemmas is to make a to-do list. It's a very regular practice. We make a to-do list, maybe a weekly to-do list, maybe a daily to-do list, maybe both. And the most enjoyable part of having a to-do list is actually finalize some of these tasks and check them off. Whether you scratch it off, whether you tear off the paper, whether you put a check mark next to it, it really gives a nice sense of achievement and relief to complete a task on your to-do list. Several years ago, when we were in a workshop, we thought about this. And we said, you know, when people experience a dilemma or whether to do something right away or whether to delay it until a later moment, how can we motivate people to actually take care of their tasks, to finish these tasks on their to-do lists without them for a long time? And we said, well, everybody likes chocolate, and it can be a very subtle, rewarding experience to have chocolate when you actually finish something. So we came up with the idea of chocolate to-do list. The idea is that this is a product service system that you send your weekly to-do list to a service online, and they print certain symbols on a chocolate bar for you. So whenever you finish a task on your to-do list, you can actually bite off that piece of chocolate. And that gives, not only it's nice to eat the chocolate, it's an enjoyable experience in itself, but it also adds to the sense of achievement that you have from finishing this task. And this idea, we actually tried it with several people. We created simple mock-ups for it. We gave it out to 5 people to see how they actually experienced having their to-do list on a chocolate. And hopefully, within a couple of months, this will become a full-fledged academic study that you can read about. I'm currently collaborating with another designer and a food psychologist to see how we can use this idea to motivate people to not procrastinate. I always like to finish off my presentations with some more inspiration. My website, my research website on Design with Dilemmas has been launched very recently. So if you want to think more about dilemma-driven design, you can go to this website. There are cases on it, the design cases that I did using this approach. This is not limited to food design. It has a lot of other projects, but you will also find more projects on food-related topics. Another website that I strongly encourage you to visit is the website of Delft Institute of Positive Design. This is my research group that I have been part of for 6 years. And there are a lot of experience and well-being-driven design projects on this website as well. Now, these projects are not, again, always related to food, but you'll find a lot of food-related projects just because it's a big part of our everyday life, our everyday experiences, and our happiness. If you have any questions or comments on my presentation, please do not hesitate to contact me. I always like to hear from different people and to hear what you actually thought about dilemma-driven design, dilemma-driven food design. So please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Deger. That was brilliant. I loved it. I love every second of it. I also really appreciated the pace of your presentation. Everything was clear. Everything came at the right moment. You know, it wasn't too fast. It wasn't too slow. As a keen public speaker myself, I do appreciate that because I know I speak too fast very often. Having said that, I want to welcome again everybody who joined us in the chat room, everybody who joined us in the conference website, but in particular those who joined us in the chat room. We are in the chat room called Chat Live Talk, which is the first one. When you click on the green tab, it's the first one that you see. I have a few questions for you already. And guys, please keep asking. We have about We have at least 30 minutes to go crazy with questions. This is really your moment to interact with Deger and ask her anything you guys want. Deger, Eric is asking, dear Deger, great topic, but could you please explain the difference for you after your presentation between dilemma and problem?
Very good question, actually. Dilemmas and problems, I would say that dilemmas are problems reframed. When we look at when we look at something as a problem, I think we see only one side of the problem. We don't see the full thing. But when you frame a problem as a dilemma, then you're able to see both sides. Now, let me clarify this with an example. Obesity is a very serious epidemic. And I think the health versus indulgence dilemma, it's definitely not the only reason for it, but it's one of the experiences that is connected to this societal problem that we have. Now, if you look at obesity as a problem and you say, you know, it's a problem because people eat too much unhealthy food, too much greasy food, too much fast food. Yes, that's one side of the problem. But if you ask yourself, why does this happen? It's not because people, you know, eat this only because they want to. It happens because it's convenient. It happens because it's accessible. It happens because it's fast. So on the one side, you have the desire, but on the other side, you have all these other reasons that actually makes it a problem. So I think the main difference between a problem and a dilemma is, the first one is that if you frame problems as dilemmas, you're able to look at it from a more human-centered perspective. And the second thing is that you can see both sides of the coin. It helps you to realize why something is actually a problem. I hope that clarifies it for Eric.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Eric, let us know what you think. Thank you so much, Deger. A brilliant answer. I think we go on the same line. There's a lot of interest around the probably choice of the word dilemma and the different facets that this concept can have. And Anya is saying, very interesting. More often, I can find myself rather in polylemmas. I'm not sure how to read it. Have you ever encountered this term, Deger?
The term not, but the idea of it's actually not about just two options, but many different things, because people have multiple goals and all those goals may come together at a decision. Yes, that's a concept I'm familiar with.
And on the same line, we have Felipe from, I believe, Rio de Janeiro. Hello, it's warm over there probably. We're saying, Deger, theoretically talking, what are the differences between dilemma issues and conflicting concerns?
I would say nothing really, because well, there is of course a fundamental difference. I'll explain. When I started my research, my project was called Design with Conflicting Concerns, and later we named it as Design with Dilemmas. Conflicting concerns are one of the ingredients of dilemmas. When we have a dilemma, there is two concerns, like we have a concern for health, but there's desire for indulgence, and those are the conflicting concerns. But in dilemma experiences, if you look at it as an experience, so if you look at it more holistically, then you also have mixed emotions evoked by these choices. And you have the decisions, the behavioral alternatives associated with it. So the conflicting concerns is one ingredient of dilemmas. I would say it's probably the most important ingredient, the cognitive element. But the reason we call it a dilemma is that besides this cognitive element, dilemmas also have emotional and behavioral phases, let's say, ingredients. So if we want to describe the phenomenon a bit more holistically, we would call it a dilemma instead of conflicting concerns.
And that's why you're going to get a PhD.
That's a psychologist in me speaking.
Definitely. We have another interesting question from Eric, who is saying, by the way, thank you, and thank you for your great presentation. He asks, what kind of methodology do you use to solve dilemmas? Design thinking?
Definitely. I am a designer. I'm a design researcher. The methodology that we use to respond to dilemmas is exactly what I worked on during my PhD. There are different things first that designers should think about when using this approach. I wouldn't call designing with dilemmas a methodology. I would call it more of a mindset or an approach. First, there are certain tools and methods to be used to identify dilemmas. That can be observations, interviews, things that we already know and use from social sciences, but there can also be some methods that originated in design research. You can find more about that on my website. And to actually generate design ideas to respond to dilemmas, there are a number of strategies, three of which I explained in my presentation. And that's what I worked on in my PhD, to see what kinds of tools and methods designer can use to identify dilemmas, to select an interesting dilemma to work with, and also to generate ideas to respond to these dilemmas.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I was wondering, well, first of all, I want to say, well, thank you for this presentation. I really loved it. And what I loved about it mostly is that, yet again, I am going to talk about in the context of this conference, we have a presentation from a researcher who is able to explain an issue, articulate the issue, and then, most importantly, give us, as food designers, tools to use tomorrow when we are designing something. So you're giving us 3 strategies. So you were mentioning that your strategies are resolving, moderating, and triggering, and you gave us a few examples. I wanted to ask you if you noticed from your research so far, which one of these, if one of these is more successful than the other, and you can interpret the word success whatever way you want.
Yeah, the answer is yes and no. As in research, it depends. I wouldn't say, I think the success of these strategies, and that's something I should have emphasized in the presentation, the success of these strategies is their plurality. So when you have a design brief and you have identified an interesting dilemma like health versus indulgence, or whatever other dilemma, there are many ways to deal with these dilemmas. And if you consider these 3 strategies systematically, you can come up with, first, more ideas, second, a larger variety of ideas to select from. So the success of these strategies do not so much come from their content, rather than being able to consider them at the same time interchangeably to respond to a dilemma, so that you have a larger variety of design ideas to select from. It sort of opens up your mind when you are generating ideas. Having said that, each strategy has its own nature, and which strategy to go with really depends on what type of designer you are. Resolving, for example, is something that designers already engage with. It's inscribed in us. It's very intuitive. If you have a conflict, you have to take care of it, resolve it, eliminate it. And when designers are encountered with something, 2 contradictory things, the first thing they think about is, how can I make this happen? So it stimulates creativity. And that has implications for user-centered innovation. When working with food developers, with companies, that was the most interesting strategy that they were interested in using. Now, if you are more, let's say, a social-minded designer, if you are interested in addressing societal issues, complex issues, then moderating dilemmas, suggesting priorities to people, whether this priority is health or safety or responsible drinking. Probably the second design direction would go best with that. And the third design direction, triggering dilemmas, that I believe works best with the type of designer who like to design provocatively. You know, we're not interested in solving problems, but raising questions. And that would be, I think, the design direction you would want to explore if you're that type of designer.
If you are a critical food designer, it's the way we use it. And by the way, we're going to have critical food designers as one of our 4 keynotes at 5 p.m. GMT +2. Thank you, Deger. That makes a lot of sense.
Welcome.
I wanted to ask you, sorry. By the way, Eric is asking another question. He says, thank you again. And he says, will you publish a book on your findings, methods, and strategies, and when? Well, I know there are at least a couple of articles already out there, and there will be a thesis soon.
Yes. The content of this presentation comes from a published article in Design Issues. So if you go to my website to publications, you will notice the Design Issues paper, the reference to it. So you can always send me an email, and I will be happy to share it with you.
And let me just add something here, because guys in the audience, I don't know how much you know about design. If you are into the world of design and design publication, then you know that Design Issues is a very big deal. Okay, for those of you who don't know, maybe Deger is too like polite, but I want to just let you know that if she published in Design Issues, it's a very big deal. It means that it's a very big paper. So sorry, Deger, continue.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Somebody has to say this.
But my entire thesis will be published and will be online again on my website and on the DIOPD, the Delft Institute of Positive Design website. Now, I know that designers like to read more visually engaging material, and when I was writing my thesis, I developed a complementary booklet called Book of Dilemmas for Designers, and that will also be online in March, and it's a visually engaging summary of my thesis, just so people can better engage with the topic. So all of these tools will be online next month.
They won't be free, correct?
They will be online for free.
Even the booklet for designers? For
online version, the hard copy version will be, on demand, because there's a cost to print things, but the tools will be online for free.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to take note of it. And
the only thing I would like people, that's an expectation on my site, is to let me know what kind of projects they use these tools in, because that's beneficial for my research.
Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. I would suggest that as soon as those are published online, you let me know, and I'll put the link on your page in the conference website, since your presentation is going to be there forever and ever. The links to your material will be there too. I think that's great.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to thank everybody again, but before we go, I just wanted to ask you another question, since we have a few more minutes. I think that's okay. I wanted to ask you, you were talking about these different dilemmas that you found, and in the one called belonging and freedom, you mentioned vegetarianism. Well, first of all, by the way, I think you should become a vegetarian. I'm a strict vegetarian.
I think I should too, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest ways to save the world. It's something that we can do anytime. I mean, every day, 3 times a day, we can save the world a little bit. But I was wondering if you have found examples out there, or maybe you have worked with your students or throughout your research, if you found examples that are in this dilemma, belonging or freedom, maybe in other dilemmas as well, but that are specific, that target specific or cater for specifically vegetarians or vegans or other type of specific diets.
Yes, I'm sure there is a lot of research on the concerns and dilemmas, goals and dilemmas of vegetarian people, and that's definitely something very promising to look into. My knowledge on the topic is limited to the people that I talk to, and already they told me several different dilemmas that they experience. And it's not just the dilemma of the vegetarian person, but it's also the dilemma of the person hosting the vegetarian person at a dinner party, right? So, you know, you want to cater to the wishes of everyone, but you just may not have the skills. A lot of people, when it came to cooking vegetables or meat-free dishes, let's say, they said that I'm not creative enough, because cooking vegetables somehow in the mind of people is something that requires more creativity. You need to know different types of spices, you need to know different types of vegetables, not just, you know, tomatoes and potatoes. So that I think there's, you know, from both sides there is some investment required.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope more designers are going to put their thinking into this, because at the moment, especially, I would say, especially in the catering business, so everything has to do with the restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
The panorama for the options available for vegetarians, let alone vegans,
Mm-hmm.
are quite sad. Having said that, if there aren't any other question, guys, is there anything else that you want to leave?
Nothing in particular. I thank everybody for listening and for asking questions. And yeah, please do get in touch if you have any specific questions that you didn't want to share through the chat room.
Thank you so much, Deger. I put Deger email address in her page. It's accessible from the conference menu in under Keynote speakers. There's her specific page with her abstract, and there is her email address in there, so you can use it to contact her privately. And well, thank you again. Wait, is there another question? Maybe just a second. It's Carito from Montevideo, see, from every corner of the world, says, wow. Deger, thank you very much for sharing so generously and clear all your work. Thank you for sharing so generously all your work. We all enjoyed it, and I second that. I think we all agree. Thank you so much, and thank you all of you who joined us live. There are so many flags in this chat and people from so many countries. It's really beautiful to see. Thank you so much. And finally, thank you again, Deger, for your time, for your knowledge. You inspired us and you made us better designers.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Definitely. Anybody who was ready to listen and to absorb definitely got a lot from your presentation. I wish you a lot of success, but we will keep in touch, definitely. I'm sure your final steps of your PhD journey will be fantastic, and the world is going to be a lot lighter after that. So,
definitely.
Good luck with your final moments, and thank you again for participating.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for your invitation. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
And again, bye-bye to everybody, and I'll see you at 3:30 p.m. GMT +1 with Jonas Pariente talking about the magic of grandmother's food design and other keynotes talk that you don't want to miss. Have a lovely day, everybody, and happy food design.
Thank you.